fellas? We're back for another Saturday video talking about Sunday NFL football. We're gonna run through the the noon games. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games to run through. We got some good matchups going on here. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chargers, Atlanta. I think could be a good game. Arizona, Minnesota. That could be a good one. And we got some good matchups in the way of Houston, Jacksonville, Seattle against the Jets. This one will be an interesting matchup, but let's hop right into it. Starting up at the top with Arizona and Minnesota. It's hard to get a read on this Minnesota Vikings defense. I think they are good, but they're easily beatable, if that makes sense. I don't see a way that I don't really see a reason why you can't beat this Vikings defense. Especially coming from Sam Darnold. He's played decent the past few games, but not great. So we got a few picks here. A Jettis touchdown or higher receiving yards. I think after the last game, not that he took it anything personally. He literally came out and said that he would rather have everyone else go off instead of him. I still think he has a good game. Receiving yards or finding the end zone, which he's not a big end zone finder, but I think he could easily do it in this game against this Arizona passing defense, which, we don't, they're not great. People pass against them a fair amount, have normal success. They target fairly down the field. We're seeing them up in these higher numbers, the 7.6, 7.9, 7.4, and then 7.3. 12 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions. So that's something to look at. So a 2-to-1 ratio there. I still think Jettas finds the end zone. If you don't believe it's Jettas that finds it, then it's going to be Addison that finds it. But Jordan Addison, within these last really 2 games, has really gone off. Going from 5 targets to 8 targets to 9 targets, catching 3 passes to 8 passes. The 162 is a result of Jettas not getting the ball as much, but still it's something to keep an eye on. Even if he doesn't have that type of day again, the yards aren't that bad of a play, but I'm not really running with it. Addison's such a hit or miss player, it seemed like, and more often than not this year, it seems like it's been a miss. Anyways, going over to the other side of the ball here with Arizona Cardinals. James Conner just signed a 2-year extension for $19 million, I believe, today, as I'm recording this on Saturday. So I think he has a good game. We can go take a look at the Vikings run defense, which at the start of the year, we were like, it's going to be one of the greatest defenses this year, or one of the best defenses this year. But, rush defense-wise, yeah, maybe, but you could easily pass against him. And, for the games that James Conner gets attempts, he makes work of it. And even when he doesn't get the rushing attempts, he's still getting receiving work and making something of it. So I wouldn't be surprised again if he finds the end zone as well. But also his total yardage, or even if you just want to play his normal yardage of rush yards, you easily could do that as well. His 18 receiving yards, it's not a bad line, but in the last 2 games we got 80 and 41 yards, so I don't see why he couldn't do something like that again. Aaron Jones, I think this is going to be like a game where he gets more work. I mean, Aaron Jones, again, like, I feel like they're trying to limit him in some games and then use him the way he's supposed to be used, and as a workhorse, give him ball, and he gets yards. So, Aaron Jones, you could probably go rush attempts. You could hit up yards. I don't see why Aaron Jones also couldn't find the end zone, but I like probably rush attempts from Aaron Jones the best there. Moving on to the next game in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. I like George Pickens here. I feel like it's a decent matchup for him. We can see in the last, well, we'll just look at the 3 games here. We got 7, 12, and 7 targets on 5, 8, and 4 receptions, totaling 90 yards and 48 yards. So, I mean, nothing to be like wowed by, but I mean, it's at least decent work. Looking at his last 3 games, it would be a toss-up to take whether the higher or the lower here. But the Bengals' pass defense isn't great, and we'll take a quick look at it here as we're kind of wanting to try and roll through this here. People pass against them, get, normal completion percentage, 7 yards down the field, but they get plenty of yards from it and many touchdowns. So if I had a bet in this game, I would say a Steelers wide receiver finds the ball in the end zone. Whether that is Mike Williams on, after doing nothing since his first game, not even being targeted. It could be Kelvin Austin, Van Jefferson, Darnell Washington. It could be any of them, especially because George Pickens is going to be their number 1 priority here. So you could also probably look at the 7.5 targets. Again, looking at it, you got 7, 12, 7. Is he going to top the 7? It'd be your call there. I would say probably he would. Just again, because the pass defense isn't great, and George Pickens makes do with what he's given. Going to the other side of the ball in the Bengals, we really have 3 people we can target here: Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. The Steelers' defense is one of the best this year, if not the best. And we can look at Jamar Chase here real quick. We're gonna go here. In his last game against Pittsburgh, which, never mind, they have not played Pittsburgh yet, but playing the Ravens, divisional opponent, goes off against Cleveland. He went 5 of 6 for 55. Again, nothing great, but again, it's one of the best defenses this year. We'll look at the pass defense from Pittsburgh here, right here. People tried to pass on them, don't get much luck, only 7 yards down the field, and more interceptions than touchdowns. Not great. So I don't want to target Chase at all. If anything, I'm targeting T. Higgins. Whether that's in his targets at 8.5, because he just gets them like crazy for some reason. I mean, 13, 8, 7. If not, then I'm targeting his receptions, 5.5. I think that with Chase being covered the way that he is, T's gonna find a lot of work there. But if there's anything that I like, it's Chase Brown here. Just getting work, making yards of it. It could be in his receiving. I like Chase Brown a lot in this game. I mean, but again, I don't have a lot of hope in this Bengals offense against the Steelers defense. Moving on to Chargers Atlanta. Now, Chargers came off a win against the Bengals, came down to the end. J.K. Dobbins is out though. So that either means Gus Edwards is going to see a big increase in work and is going to need to play good, or Ladd McConkey. I like a lot about Ladd in this game. I also like a lot about Joshua Palmer or Quinn Johnston. Will Dissly is also a sneaky hit here. 6 targets, 4 targets, but he was a little banged up, I guess. But full participant in Friday's practice, and he's good to go. So, nothing to worry about there. Ray McCloud, he should be playing. Coming off a bye week, I don't see why he would sit out this week, unless he's really hurt. So, again, I like anything with the Chargers receivers. I especially like Ladd, as he seemed to be the number one in this offense from about the third game in the season. Jumping over to the Atlanta side of the ball. Now, it's hard to like a lot of what's coming from here against this Chargers defense that has been good. Passing wise, 62, not great. Completion percentage, yards per attempt, it's short, not a ton of yards, and only 5 more touchdowns than interceptions. So it's hard to see that Kirk has like a phenomenal day. But I mean, we see down here, dry streak on touchdowns, interception in the last 2 games hasn't been hot. I'd almost be willing to take the lower on like Drake London's yards or Mooney here. But again, it's hard to take a lower. So if anything, I might take Bijan. I mean, he's been getting work and he's been making good with it. I don't see why he couldn't have a decent game in maybe a longest rush or a longest reception here. 5 receptions. I could see it. Pressure comes in. Dump off. Receiving yards, very possible. Finding the end zone as well, though. Again, that's always another good thing. But I don't hate his receiving yards at 28.5. That seems like a decent one. Going on, Tennessee, Washington. Not a ton I like from this game. I mean, Tennessee defense has proven to be surprisingly dominant in just about every game, limiting teams to, I mean, they played the Vikings and limited them to like 24 points or something to win. And they won last week. So it's hard to like a lot in this game. If there is anything, maybe it's rush yards from Jaden Daniels sitting at 35.5. That could be decent. Kelvin Ridley could have a good game. I mean, he's been proving what he's supposed to be, is wide receiver 1. So that's honestly probably what I like the most, although the Washington defense has showed up a little bit. B-Rob with no Eckler could have a good game, but then again, Tennessee defense. So we'll see about that. Going on to Seattle Jets. Not a ton I like from the Jets side, as they haven't looked great, and the Seattle defense is really good. But this Jets defense hasn't looked great at all. So a lot I like from the Seattle side, beginning with JSN to have 54 receiving yards. I like Kenneth to have, where is it? Four receptions. Oops. We're just going to start getting rid of some of these. To have 4 receptions. I mean, he's been involved in the receiving game decently. I mean, I don't hate his rush attempts line either at 16.5. I think Seattle could get to a quick lead, and they're just going to try and run the ball. But I also don't hate his receiving yards or rush yards to go along with the attempt line. So play that how you will. I mean, if you think it's going to be more of a rush game, take the attempts or the yards. If you think he's just going to be evolved, period, take the receiving yards, take the receptions. I don't hate anything there with Kenneth. Anything from the Jets side? Not really. Like I said, it's hard to like anything from this team. Right now, they haven't looked good. Chemistry doesn't look good. It's hard to trust them at all. Houston, Jacksonville, though. Jacksonville, terrible defense. Nico's due. Big time. If you're a fantasy player and have Nico, you know. Joe Mixon, bounce back game after a tough game against a tough Tennessee defense. So, I mean, 2 touchdown Joe. Why not again? That'd be a tough one to take, but again, I don't hate it. It's Joe Mixon. He's a phenomenal player. From the Jets side, or from the Jags side, BTJ is he's back. I don't hate his receiving yards. I mean, when he gets the ball, he's good. I mean, but when he doesn't, it's tough. I mean, they just don't win when they don't get him the ball, it seems like, because he's good. And that's the same with Evan Ingram. I mean, if they just don't get him the ball, they don't win. It's also hard to trust him, though. Like, is T-Law going to play the full game? Is he 100% healthy? What's going on with Trevor Lawrence? But if there's anything I like from the Jags side, it's either BTJ or Evan Ingram's receiving yards. In the last game of the noon slate, we got Indianapolis, New England. Both quarterbacks are looking good. And, both teams are kind of starting to turn it around, I feel like. I think these teams both have good futures. As far as this game, Jonathan Taylor needs to just show up in general. Like, what's going on, JT? I mean, he's playing now not a great Patriots defense that you can run against. 10 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. What was that, 4.3 yards per carry? Run against them. You can. But that also means I don't hate A-Rich's rush yards. As we can see, he's been scooting. So I don't hate either of their rush yards. From the New England side, Drake May. I mean, I don't hate his pass yards. Drake May has been looking good. So, yeah. I like Drake May's pass yards there. And honestly, probably his number one target here, Hunter Henry. Probably going to have a good game. Wouldn't be surprised if he finds the end zone. On a 2x multiplier, why not take it? That also being said, Alec Pierce. Deep shot? Who knows? Yeah. So, that's kind of me running through the noon slate for you. You got a lot of good matchups here in the later games in the Rams, New Orleans. Again, either side you could take there. Cleveland, Denver. Cleveland could have a sneaky good game, but also the Denver defense is phenomenal on Monday Night Football. Philly, Baltimore, Barkley against Henry. Big narrative to buy in there. So take that how you will. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Both not great pass defense. And both offenses are kind of turning around. So, yeah, those are the Sunday games. Let me know what you guys want to see. Make sure to like and subscribe. All that fun stuff. And we'll catch you next time. Peace, fellas.